Hello everyone, my name is Eric Banson. I'm a content author for I Get It at Tata Technologies. I will be giving today's session on the topic Basic Introduction to NX Realized Shape. Now, in this session, I'll be going over what is NX Realized Shape, what is Realized Shape used for and who would use it, as well as what type of process to use when creating a part in Realized Shape. And also we'll explore the user interface of Realized Shape and some of its features and tools. Now, what is NX Realized Shape? Realized Shape is a subdivision modeling application that allows you to create B-surface bodies. Now, some have referred to it as feature within NX. I like to think of it personally as an application because you'll find out that it has its own toolbar, that these surfaces that you create are able to push and pull and create a surface very quickly as opposed to using, say, surfacing or solid modeling. Now, what is Realized Shape used for and who would use it? Realized Shape would be used in early concept phase of design or in styling within such industry roles as an industrial designer, a product designer, or someone in transportation design. Meaning that as I was an industrial designer way back in the day, I would have loved to have a tool like this in order to flesh out a concept or a sketch on paper and be able to bring it to full 3D life. But with a certain process that you could use within Realized Shape, you could come up with a very, very, very close product or styling design model that would get you to a prototype design very quickly. We're going to also explore the user interface of Realized Shape and its features. And I mentioned before about it having its own toolbar for creating the B-surface bodies. We'll take a look at some of those. So let's go ahead and begin and switch over to NX. With our NX application open, let's go ahead and select New to create a new model. And if we take a look, we have all our tabs at the top, and what we're going to look for is the Surface tab, which is right here, and here we have NX Realized Shape. Now, if you don't see the Surface tab, for any of you that might not know, go ahead in this open ribbon field, right click, and here you can see Surface and make sure there's a check there. That will ensure that the Surface tab is available. And as for Realized Shape, you see it here within the Surface tab. If you don't, go to the ribbon options downward arrow button, and within here this drop down menu will allow you to place a check next to Realized Shape Group, which then ensures that it is available for you to use. So let's go ahead and select NX Realized Shape, and notice right away we have a ribbon above here that has a large amount of groups with features and tools to use within Realized Shape. You also have at the top a set of tabs. We won't be going through a lot of these. We will go through maybe tools to show you some ways to bring in some raster images so that you can use in order to create a shape within Realized Shape. So let's go ahead and let's go right to Primitive Shape on the Create group, and notice right away we get a sphere, and this drop down menu allows us to change the shapes that we want to start off with and manipulate with. For instance, here's a cylinder. You can get a block, you can fit that in there. You can get a circle. Let's use fit. There we go. Just a flat surface circle. And the same thing with a rectangle. And then finally we have a torus. Select fit, and here's our torus. Now let's go ahead and go back to the sphere. and I'm going to select that, and the size is quite large, so I'm going to put that down to say 100 millimeters, and that's a little bit better, and we'll select OK. Now if we take a look at our sphere, you notice that there's a box with around it which we call a cage, and the cage has an edge, a face, and a vertex. And this allows us to manipulate the shape of the sphere as to where we want to pull it or drag it. And in order to do that, we have to go to Transform Cage, and I'm going to select this feature right here. Now, if you notice, we have a coordinate system in the center, and that allows us to pull the sphere in that direction, but we have to decide what we want to pull. We want to pull the face. Do we want to pull in edge or a vertice? And if I select just in that arrow, I can select here, or I can select within the drag tab, and I'm going to keep it on the WCS. And if I go ahead and select, let's say, this face here, and now I'm going to click on again and then pull and drag with my mouse, notice I can change the shape of our sphere. Now if you don't like what you did, you can always select Control Z on your keyboard, and that will take you back. And to deselect a face, you can basically just select anywhere else within the window in an open area, and it will deselect. Now you can do the same thing. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and select this arrow up here, and I'm going to select this cage edge. But notice, since I selected that arrow, it's going in the Z direction. I can't go anywhere else except up and down. If I go to the side, it doesn't. So it locks me in to how I want to move the shape. And it works the same way with, say, a vertice. If I select that vertice there, it's only going up and down in that direction. Now you can select more than one vertice, or I should say vertex, or more than one edge or face by holding down your Control key when you do selecting. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, I wanted to show you basically what you'll be coming into when you go into Realize Shape. Now the one other thing is I'm going to select OK. And if I want to exit out, I'll select up here at the top, select this checkered flag, Finish. And now notice here in the Part Navigator, I have a subdivision body, and it's numbered. So if I go ahead and select on it, it's highlighted, and now it's a solid body that can be used to make extrusions, holes, whatever you want to do to it, you can at this point. You can use regular surfacing features on it as well. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But if I want to go back into it, I can go ahead, select it. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select Edit with Rollback. And it takes me right back into the Transform Cage feature and right back into Realize Shape. So I'm going to select Cancel, and I'm going to exit out. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. And next, we're going to get into now a short process of how to create a shape, or say a part, within Realize Shape. So now here at this point, we're going to talk about a quick process that I used to use as an industrial designer, and that is to kind of sketch out something before we start to really get into creating and flushing out the ideas. And so a quick sketch of a couple profiles usually helped out understanding what you're going to create. And with that thought process, I'm going to add that into using Realize Shape, because as you saw before, you can take a sphere and you can start shaping it into almost anything you can imagine, but we kind of need some parameters in order to control the shape. And in order to do that, it'd be good to have some kind of profile or sketches, or even like images from a drawing with some section cuts so that you can then place your realized shape part within. So in order to do that, we have to bring in some images. And to do that, we have to go to the Tools tab at the top. Now this is before we go back into Surface and Realize Shape. We're going to go into Tools. And here we have Utilities group, and we'll select the raster image icon. And what you're going to get here is a very long dialog, and we're going to shrink that up a little bit. Now, it's okay. This is all covered within the NX Realize Shape course, so it's actually covered in much more detail than I will do here due to some time constraints. So you can go into the course and you can go through, and it'll take you step by step. It's actually in one of the Realize Shape projects as well. And actually, we're doing this project really quickly, and that is a project of a rear view mirror for an automobile. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go under Target Object, and I'm going to specify the plane. And for this, I'm going to select the XCZC. I believe it's this one here. And if you notice, you can even change the distance if you wish. If you want it offset a bit or something, you can do that. But for this instance, we're going to use this particular plane for this example, and I'm going to choose the image file, and I'm going to go ahead and select the front view, rear view mirror sketch. Now, this sketch of a rear view mirror, and the reason I picked that is it's something that you already know what it looks like. You've seen it on a lot of vehicles, so you have an idea, a very good idea of what this image looks like. So you don't have to concentrate on what the part that you're creating, but you can concentrate on the method of using Realize Shape when you create it, and worry about what tools to use and features to use in order to create that part, because you already know in your head what a rear view mirror looks like for a car. So next we're going to go down to Orientation, and for the base point, I'm going to go ahead and select the bottom right, and I'm going to leave the rotation 0. Now, within the course, I go through each and every one of these to help you understand what these orientation and size sections can do for your image. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put an overall translucency of about midway, about 45. And now here I'm going to select Apply, because I'm going to add in another image, or I should say like a profile. But I'm going to use a different plane. And for that, I believe I'm going to use the YCZC. And again, for my base point, I'm going to go ahead and select bottom right. But I also have to select my image, and that's the top view rear image. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate that by 90 degrees. I have to go back and select my base point to bottom right. And then down as I go further, I'm going to go ahead and select overall translucency again to about 45. And now one thing you can do is that when I'm going to take this line and I want the center of that line to this point here. And to do that, I can use the YC arrowhead there, and I'm going to drag it directly across and just kind of eyeball it in, because this is a prototype, and you can see we're about center, so that's pretty good. And I'm going to select OK. And we can go ahead and take a look and see what we have. And as you can see, we have a top view where the mirror would be showing here, and here is the profile of our rear view mirror, and this would be the passenger side of a vehicle for the outside rear view mirror. So with our profiles now entered in and basically ready for use, we can go into our Surface tab and we can enter into Realize Shape. And at this point we can start creating our part. Let's go ahead and select Primitive Shape, and notice that we get quite a large sphere, and we don't want that large of a sphere to start off with. So let's go ahead and take that down to probably about 25. That's a little small. Let's do about 50. And let's go ahead and select OK. And you can see now we're going to begin basically extruding or dragging and transforming our sphere into this shape here. And to do so, we're going to go ahead and select the transform cage. I'm going to select this face here, and with our ZC axis selected, I'm going to go ahead and hold, click, and drag. And I'm going to drag it to about the edge, as you can see, of our shape. And I'm going to go ahead and select OK, because I'm going to use a different feature now. I'm going to go ahead and use the split face, because I'm going to split this into certain faces, and then I'm going to drag it upward in different sections. So let's go ahead to our edit group and select split face. I'm going to go ahead and select this face here. And notice we have already number 4 placed in there. Now it's going to ask for a reference edge. I'm going to select this one here. And notice I get 4 equal splits along this particular cage. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And now notice how our shape is a little bit different. It's starting to form from a sphere now to kind of a pill shaped. So with our pill shape ready, we're going to go ahead and go to the transform cage, and we're going to go ahead using the XC axis. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select these 3 top faces. So what that'll be is I'll hold down my control key and select these 3. I can let go, and then I can go ahead and select just any one of them, and then I pull and drag, and no matter which way I move my cursor, you can see I have basically a vertical pull. So with that, I'm going to pull it up close to that, and I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And one thing I can't see is my profile, so I have to make my part here translucent. I'm going to go up to the tab, and I'm going to go ahead and select View, and I'm going to go ahead and select Edit Object Display. I'm going to select my object and select OK, and then I can change my transparency or translucency right here so that I can see my profiles. And I have it where I like it. Select OK, and I can kind of see what that looks like now. So let's go ahead back to home, and we're going to use the transform cage quite a bit in this instance in order to get the shape that we want. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and select, make sure I select the XC axis, and I'm going to go ahead and select this face here, and I'm just going to pull it up a little bit to get more of a rounder top, as we can see here. And you can see why we have that image, right? We have this image so that we can guide ourselves in creating our part to the best of the ability that we can, because otherwise it'd be kind of difficult without any kind of parameters in creating this. Now if we notice here, we have a lot of space in here to fill. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to go ahead and select, holding my control key, this face, this and this one, and now I'm going to select the YC axis so that it will pull in that direction only, so I don't have to worry. So if I move my cursor anywhere else, it's just going to move in that one single direction. We can kind of take a look. We can start to see it taking shape. And I'm going to go ahead and select apply. So we're going to do a few more transforms on this, and then we're going to exit out of realize shape and then do some surface cutting on it. So let's go ahead and try to get this a little bit more in shape. Let's see, let's go ahead. I'm going to take this edge here, and I'm going to rise that up. Select the XT axis. Pick that up like so. Try and meet that angle there. And let's see, let's go ahead and hit apply. And maybe we'll also take this edge and bring that down. And we're going to bring that inward somewhat to follow that. Hit apply again. And again, you can go ahead and finesse this. This takes a little while to do, but you can see how powerful it is that you can start to get your shape that you want. And let's go ahead and do maybe one more, and then we'll exit out. Select this edge. I'm going to bring that up. Get that kind of close. Apply. Same with this edge. Bring it down like that, and then let's see if we can bring that upward like so. This as well. And you can see our shape is starting to form. Hit apply, and I'm going to go ahead and use this one and push that in a little bit. And so let's go ahead. I'm going to select OK. And now next what we're going to do is we're going to do some surface cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out. So now that we're out of NX Realize Shape, we have basically a solid model. Now if you look over at Part Navigator, it shows that it's a subdivision body, but we could only go back into Realize Shape and then make changes if we wish. But since now it's outside of it, we're going to do some cutting to it. So let's go ahead and go to Home, and let's go to Sketch, and let's go take a look and see which plane we want to use. I think we're going to use this plane here. Select OK. And we're going to go ahead and use a spline, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll make kind of a little bit deeper cut maybe, so that we can see, try to get along that line there. Select OK. Now let's go ahead and select Finish to exit out. And now let's go to Surface, and let's go ahead and extrude that line. Let's make that a little bit taller. And let's go ahead and select OK. And that now we can see that our surface is cutting through our part. So let's go ahead back to Home. Let's go to More, and we're going to trim the body. I'm going to select our body and then select our face or plane, and our arrow's pointing in the right direction. Select OK. And let's go ahead and hide our extrude. We can also hide our raster images. And we can also hide our sketch. And looks like we can kind of see through it still. So let's go ahead and go back to View, and if we go to More, and under for this display we can select and take the translucency off. Let's go back to Home, and now let's go ahead and shell this. Select this face here. We have it at 4 millimeters, and I'll go ahead and select OK. And you can see that our realized shape B surface has now become a solid that we actually then shelled. And we created a really nice form. It could still use some work, but in the interest of time with this session, it turned out, I think, pretty well. And you could see the power of using realized shape, that we created a solid object with a lot of surfacing on it in a matter of about 20 minutes. The other thing is to remember is when you create anything within realized shape, you want to use the least amount of surfaces or faces on your part. The more faces on the part, the more undulations or more little areas that can cause indentations or things like that. You want to keep your part pretty smooth, as you can see in the lighting here. So, in summary of this session, we spoke about what realized shape is, a subdivision modeling application allowing you to create B surface bodies, as we saw, and it also has its own feature toolbar for creating those surface bodies, and we spoke to all the different types that you could use. Transform cage was a really popular one that we went over, and we also talked about where realized shape would be used. As you could see, it's definitely an early concept phase type of design application. It definitely works with styling. It can do a lot of other different things. There's examples of it working on some surfaces of vehicles as well as the interior of vehicles, such as, you know, seating and consoles and things like that, or even steering wheels. As far as product design, it does a lot of different types of applications there as well. And we also talked about how the industrial design process of using sketch profiles to help create or guide the shape, as I showed you, as a way as you can at least see what you're creating using profiles of sketches or drawings of some sort that allow you to use those as parameters in creating a shape within realized shape. So that is it. Thank you very much for attending.